Hi there, it's Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, the Women's Broadcast TV Network, Women on TV.tv, and iTube 247 out of Franklin, Tennessee. And today, we're talking about films again. This is my third show of the day, so I want to talk about, introduce Ali. Ali, what's your last name? Pronounce it correctly for me.
My last name is Aksu.
Okay, so say your whole name for me.
Ali Aksu.
Okay, I like that. That's actually pretty cool.
Thank you.
All right, so tell us what you're doing. Tell the audience what you guys have come up with, you and your partner.
So what we do is, our platform is called Filmcapital, filmcapital.io as a URL if you wanted to go to the website. What we do is so let me start with this, because I feel like now with the change in the system, it's not necessarily complete when you just say what your business does in terms of bringing value to your customers and clients, but also it's important to know what you bring to the world as a purpose in your business. So we call this massive transformative purpose of a business. And I strongly believe that this is the new norm. It's been the new norm in some circles, but I think it's going to be more prevalent around vertical, industries as well, not only just entertainment industry that we're in. And, you can see a lot of mirrors of this through, initiatives like B Corps. And, I personally work a lot on local businesses impacting their communities at the United Nations associations as the president of Young Professionals. So to me as well, and my partners in the team, what really matters is that what kind of change do we create in the community that we create or we belong to. So we define that community as independent filmmakers, given that the age of content is rapidly shifting towards democratization of creation of the content and distribution of the content. So what we want to do is to empower independent filmmakers. As a filmmaker myself, and having produced my first movie about 7 years ago, I am very familiar with all the frictions and inefficiencies in the industry. So we created Film Capital to bring efficiency to the industry and empower filmmakers by taking care of the business aspect of it. And when I say business aspect, I mean, preparation of your production, basically from an idea level to the first day of your set. So that time normally takes long for every filmmaker, depending on your structure, depending on your network, depending on, your track record. There's a lot of different variables in there, but, if you compare it to a startup, it's very similar in terms of taking the idea, trying to build something with it and raise money for it, and actually start executing the idea, be successful with the execution. And actually, this is not over there. It's actually starting almost, the most important part is also at the end when you sell the product and monetize, because, depending on the budget, there's a lot of people that are backing you and supporting you
right,
financially as well. So you have to bring some kind of return, if not break even. So that entire structure comes with a framework to us, because we've been doing this as a cookie cutter for a while, and our team is very diversified in terms of experience. It's me and my partner Aya Kikimova. She's the head of digital sales at Microsoft in a branch and dealing with many bigger corporations in their efforts. And also we have Larry Namer as a board advisor, which is very fortunate for us, because Larry is a very experienced individual in the industry, has been around for a while.
And really knows those outside territories too, very, very well.
Exactly. So to us, it's really at the end bringing together those elements that empower the filmmaker to focus on the creative process and actually focus on the impact that content is creating. Because now it's not only theatrical, streamings are obviously there, but now dominating. So now you don't have all those middlemen between your content and your audience. So, we basically make that process, we cut some of those middlemen and we make that process a lot faster and more secure. Obviously, I didn't mention you, but there's so many different details when it comes to fundraising. And we provide, for example, when you fundraise and you're collecting investments from different investors, you need to have a certain legal structure in place. And you can't just ask for money without having those structures and without being able to promise that structure in a way that it can have a waterfall that is that can benefit others once they start supporting you. Or the same structure goes for guaranteeing a certain kind of outcome from what you produce after you produce it. And depending on the goal, if you want profit, obviously you can follow a certain way, but we want to find that sweet spot where you can get both, where you can actually profit and then create an impact through your content.
How do you see the world changing now with everything? Because is it going to be a lot? It's always been hard to raise money, no matter what, for films, and it takes a while. So is it going to be even more difficult now because we're in a recession? I've been saying we've been in recession since this time last year, except you didn't believe me. And then I've been saying, hey, it's going to be harder to get money for films, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't give money for films, because there's got a lot of good stories need to be told, and you need financing to tell those stories.
Exactly. So, yes, I think there is recession. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, but we obviously know that we're going to call maybe a recession maybe a couple months from now. And I think now, as you know, I mean, you're familiar with this concept as well, but whenever there's risk, there's more opportunities. And I think this goes for the entertainment industry, because these days we're rapidly shifting. The entire business model is shifting. As you see in the news, a lot of big players are changing the way they do the business. The habits are changing, but from the consumers. So the industry is shifting, and the demand for content is increasing, and that's good for the industry. And I think there's going to be a transition time where we understand how these new norms are now the new, the new updates basically to the industry are the new norm. And once that's done, I think raising money is easier than ever, especially now. I mean, if you go on Film Capital now and you wanted to invest in one of our productions, it literally takes you about 10 minutes to put in your subscription. Well, then it takes a couple of days, maybe a week, to kind of make sure that you're not a bad actor. We check your, customer status and, your tax returns. Everything is basically gone under a screening. But, that process of raising the amount and being guaranteed that you have a secure and legal and, in every way you have a secure spot in this production, it's easier than ever. So I'm excited for how, of the new ways that we can see in the future and the ways that we use now.
Talk about your struggles when you were raising money to do your film. And also when it comes to YouTubers, that's a whole nother ballpark, but it's a relevant ballpark because it's not going away, is it?
No, I don't think so. I think the way we use it is more important. So back in 2015, we produced a movie called Late in America with a couple of YouTube stars. And the idea was to have a business plan based on the marketing strategy of those YouTube stars instead of, the classic A-list, B-list actors. We did have really talented, Hollywood actors in the movie, but the main cast was based on YouTubers. And that was a successful business plan that we had in partnership with Universal Studios at the end for distribution. But now I think the way we use it is more important, because there's obviously a transition between, having online content and focusing on that and creating a feature film or any kind of content that you create. So once that transition is complete on the actors part, I think is easier. But I feel like using YouTube and those kind of social media channels within the context of producing content, whether it be feature films or TV shows or short form, I think the genius comes in the marketing strategy and how creative you are with it.
What did you first know about using those people from YouTube? Because you have to have a certain, not a lot of them can act or anything like that, but because of what they've been able to create, they created their own niche on how to do things differently, which I think is brilliant. For me, I mean, what do we have? We have 4.5 million views a day and counting, 3.5 out of Tennessee alone. So I get a lot of those people saying, hey, how do I go about finding financing? Well, here's a new avenue that I can tell them about, but I used to be done with finished product because I'm used to picking those films once it's complete. So I always found it challenging on those films, a lot of those great films that struggled to get that money that no one saw. That bothered me personally, Without a Box, Film Freeway.
Yeah, me too. And I think that's the waste. And that's the waste we're also that's the inefficiency that I really mentioned. Because at the end, in the startup world, 1 out of 12 startups don't make it after the incubation level. And in the film world, this rate is a lot worse. So I think tackling that waste is important. And when it comes to raising and challenges with it, it's obviously a big problem because you have to, get people on the same page as you, and you have to be passionate about the project that you're telling, the story that you're telling. And you do really have to have a business plan and everything, all the ducks in a row, because you're asking for financial support. And unless you're raising through family and friends who unconditionally love you and want to give you and support you, other than that, you want to have a structure where you mean what you ask for, and where you have strong foundations for any kind of investor. Because I'm surrounded by many talented people in LA, whether it be actors or screenwriters, and I have conversations with them on a daily basis. And I see that all of them see the fundraising process differently. Whether it be, everyone has this persona in their minds with, persona that's holding a money bag and about to give that out. It just really doesn't work that way. And there's no one that you should convince other than yourself with your business plan and with the ducks that you basically put, line up. And once that's in place, you will get spotted. And I see that as a matchmaking. You just have to basically have the perfect profile, and then you look out for investors. Just like startups, have at least 65, they say, but at least 100 meetings. One will support you if you have everything in a place.
So with COVID-19 now and how everything is going, everybody's still being sequestered, and then people just running out doing things, whether for better or for worse. How do you see the world of filmmaking now once you've gotten your financing? There's something else have to come into place now, or what?
Yeah, I think animation is definitely peaking at the moment, because that's something that you don't have you don't necessarily put together people in the same room a lot.
So animation, voiceovers, AI technology.
Yeah, and content that you can produce with your phone and watch with your phone. Those are, I think, very important these days. But I mean, I feel like hopefully, and I'm hoping next fall, we'll start opening up film sets and seeing their production. So I don't think that's going to be a long-term issue.
No, but you know what? It's a good thing, because it also gives you that much more time to tighten things, to make sure you got it down. Because who would want to, after you raise that money, who would want to have a start and then a stop because of something silly went wrong,
Oh yeah, the industry is faster than ever in developing these days. Everyone is writing.
Yeah. As a filmmaker now, how do you see that when you put your filmmaker hat on? What's most important for you right now, and how would you see your next set?
I think social impact, and we have a very exciting initiative around that we're building with a lot of talented people right now. I would love to disclose that maybe in our next show if we talk together. But I think the most important part is the social impact, because these days we all sit down and kind of see the chaos that the world is going through, and new norms are being extracted, such as bigger concepts such as conscious capitalism, and these are the things that we're talking about these days. So I think when it comes to my filmmaker hat, I want to tell the stories that I'm really passionate about, and about the things that I want to see as a change. The main part of my motivation, and I think this is true for many of my filmmaker friends at the moment, is changing things that we want to, putting the things that we want to change in the frame, and putting it that way, in a way that we change the current common sense and turn it into common practice in areas that we want to change. And we see that, to me personally, one of the issues that I really want to address in our, for example, next project is LGBT rights. I think around the world right now, for example, this is an area that we want to address, and this is the story that we want to tell, and this is the impact that we want to make. So as a filmmaker, how can I make sure that the movie or the content, any kind of content that I make, can touch upon that issue, and I can measure that somehow? I think that's the question. And now that there's, as we talked before, the middlemen are being eliminated, and between the content and the audience, that space is being narrowed down. Now I think it's an amazing opportunity for any filmmaker to focus on and systematically approach the way they impact through the lens.
How did you meet your partner? How did you guys get together? Because it's important. You got to have that right partnership first. And this could be really, really big, huh?
Well, I mean, Aya is someone that I really admire on a daily basis, because she's really talented and successful. We met at Forbes 30 Under 30 event, and we had a conversation, and we really clicked in vision. And we just kept in touch to see how things evolved. And Aya is based out of New York, and I'm in LA, but I visit New York a lot often. So we kind of, planned the entire thing together. in a way that we had the rollout strategy. When I met with Aya, I mentioned there, Aya, this is what I'm working on. And, this is my background. Let's talk. And then she was like, okay, of course, let's meet and talk about it. And then we met. And after that moment, we never got separated again. And we started working on it with that motivation. It's exponentially bigger now. And, the amount of the journey that we left behind since we met is just the beginning of it. So we're very excited, all of us. But that's not the only team, by the way. Aya and I are obviously co-founders in the project, but we have a brilliant team in the back when it comes to user experience, design, software, and legal team, because the legal is a big part of what we do. I call it a distributed team, and this is also new norm in the new world as well. We have some of us are based in different continents, different states, but we obviously have zero friction in working together, and actually it's very, very efficient.
What do filmmakers need to know now? Now that they can go to Film Capital, what do they really need to pay attention on? Because they have to be a lot more careful now too, huh?
Yeah, I think I would say community. I mean, I think the sense of community is what we really want to create at the end of the day. And, an environment where people can go for different resources, whatever they need. And I see Film Capital as a Swiss knife of the film industry, Swiss toolkit. Whatever you need is there. I mean, we're building it too. And this is one of the one we have right now is our minimum viable product, minimum marketable product we call. I'm very proud of it. All of us are very proud of it, but there's a lot more exciting stuff that are on the way.
And the screening process, how does that work? How do you screen them out?
Well, that's totally done by our due diligence team. And that is, we work with obviously a registered broker dealer in that sense to do all that, all the actual, KYC and bad actor checks. And those are done, in a way that is done across industries, including finance industries. It's a very standardized process.
Well, the way the world is right now, what do you want to take this the next 3-5 years if you're looking at that? How will everything molded? Is it hard to project right now?
It is. I mean, I think it's not so hard to project because to me, I'm a part of, to me, I tell myself very often this, I think I lived in the future for long. And now, but, these are the concepts that we always talked about, whether it be decentralized teams or, AI or, leveraging assets like, what we call exponential organizations. We thought this idea was, it resonated with us so much, but we never thought it would come this fast, right? And I think after the pandemic and during the pandemic, the changes are happening really fast. I think if you ask me, and to answer your question fully, how to basically see a year from now in terms of our industry, I'm very hopeful and I'm very, very positive because I love disruption. I love change. And I think we have to keep changing to, this is the number one rule of the game, that you have to keep innovating and self-disrupting yourself. And that's the biggest problem with corporations in the industry as well, immune system of the corporations, where they resist those changes. And the ones who resist are just left behind. And with the pandemic I think it just accelerated that change, but the change was inevitable anyways.
That's right. Talk about what does it mean to these filmmakers that they have another place to go to raise money if they're accepted, and talk about the theaters now, because as a filmmaker, they always want their work to be seen on the bigger screen, but now things have changed. That's not necessarily the case, but it's all about still making that movie, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like that a lot. If you ask me, yeah, I mean, if going to theater is one of my favorite activities. I would love to go back and still enjoy that, and that is totally set apart. But I think as a filmmaker, you really shouldn't really spend too much time on showing your work to bigger screens, but to bigger audiences and to more people. And I think the end goal, the result that you can measure shouldn't be the size of the screen or the amount of spotlights you have, but I think it should be the strength of the story you tell, the way you tell it, and the reason you tell it, and the amount of people that you impacted through that story. I think those measures are a lot more satisfying for a filmmaker. I mean, when I wear my filmmaker hat, that's just at least how I feel.
So what advice would you give to those future filmmakers on the financing, on your company? And then the last question would be, please give your website so people can know to go up there.
Okay. I think, so can you repeat the first part of the question?
On what advice that you would give to those future filmmakers on the financing, and then your website, social media links.
Oh yeah, sure. So the biggest advice is, I think, just find the passionate story that you have and just go tell that story. I mean, really focus on the story you can't just wait to tell, and you're really passionate about it. But then don't be really discouraged by the fact that you really have to work hard on it, because the creative part of the brain works really, you have to activate that part of the brain, but also you have to activate the systematic part, where you have to really structure your plan in a way that it makes sense for everyone who listens to it. And whenever I talk to, and I think it's really important to set up that, the strategy around it, not only the storytelling part, but the strategy to produce it as well. And, just a little bit producer's hat, and then, see that big picture, because it's really, it's right now, you just have the power to do that. And I think that's really, really exciting for any filmmaker to go out there and really independently tell that story. And if you need help, that's why we're here. So go on filmcapital.io. We will have consultation services, and we do have a 15-minute free consultation now. So if you have a question about how you want to structure that, perfect structure that you need to have to be able to pitch your story and get more attraction and get better feedback, reach out to us. It's hello@filmcapital.io. We have a vetting process for every film, every project that we receive, and we receive a lot. So if we're a good fit as partners in terms of, our goals and your goals, then we're happy to help in terms of raising the funds as well. But other than that, I mean, I'm happy to get on a call with any filmmaker that are passionate about to tell their stories and guide them along the way.
And with that, Ali, I want to thank you for coming on, because that's very, very important, especially for those great pieces of work that are probably being written right now. I can only imagine, I've been saying this for a long time, I can only imagine, I can't wait to see some of these feature films coming out, what people will experience. You just know they're going to be great.
Yes, exactly. And we're here to support all those filmmakers at heart, I would say.
Okay, give you your full and last name one more time, because I'm going to screw it up.
It's Aya Aksu. I'm going to pronounce it right. Aya Aksu.
Aya Aksu.
Yeah.
And with that, Ali, I want to thank you for that. And come around, I want to see about having you and your partner on too, because you always got to have that woman's point of view when it comes to things too, right?
I'd be happy to. Yeah, just have her. Forget me, have her.
All right, thank you for that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Brian.
This is Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, the Women's Broadcast TV Network, women on TV.tv, and iTube 247 out of Tennessee. And we will see you next week.